Here we are. I think we're live on the internet
Great.
right now. Thank you, Chelsea, for being here.
Thank you.
This
is really sweet.
It's cool. This is the first episode of CCTV. You are here
Thank you.
in Austin, Texas with us.
Yeah.
And this really came about pretty quickly. We had an idea to create a show about social entrepreneurship. We've been having some different stops and starts about the format to do it, but we thought it'd be cool to just stream things live and go from there.
Yeah, I think it's great. I just love that you're doing everything you can in all of these different avenues to provide a platform for social entrepreneurs and nonprofits. I mean, you do it, of course, through charity charge, through the credit card, and now through this platform, video. It's great. I'm just honored to be here.
Thanks
you.
for thinking. That's very sweet.
Yeah.
And so, although we just pushed it live, we've been, interacting, getting setting up for the past 20 minutes or so. Yeah. But I haven't really been able to jump into a conversation with you because we chatted right before you had gone on to a big trip to China.
Yeah.
You recently got back.
Saturday night.
Right. So I want to jump on that for a second, but to the audience watching, can you talk a little about who you are and what you do in Austin and your role in Impact Hub Austin?
Sure. My name is Chelsea Collier, and I'm a co-founder of Impact Hub Austin. And I think like all good things in Austin, it just starts with a conversation and a bit of an experiment. So myself and 3 other co-founders really wanted to create a physical space for social entrepreneurs and nonprofits, and really anybody who wants to create some positive change in the world can come together, whether through an event or co-working. So over a very long process, probably I guess about 1.5 years, we went from an idea and talking about it to an actual launch. So we launched in March of this year, and here we are in November. And I guess we're about 6 months in, so yeah, it's going really well. Yeah.
And so where is it located in Austin?
South Austin. So what was VUCA co-working space for founders, started working with Brian Schoenbaum, who's the founder of VUCA, and then we became 5 founders of Impact Hub Austin. And basically what was an existing co-working and event space, we added an Impact Hub platform. So now what was one location is now one of 83 locations around the world that are all Impact Hubs. So one city can have one Impact Hub. So now we're part of a global network of 15,000 members.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What are some it seems like these Impact Hubs are really there to service provide value obviously to entrepreneurs and aspiring social entrepreneurs, and then provide programming and such for just the community at large. Is that a fair enough way to
I
sum
couldn't
up?
have scripted that better myself.
Cool.
Really good.
I don't work for them, but that's cool. So what are some of the services? I mean, how does, say, an Impact Hub differentiate from, say, a space like WeWork, which provides, is there really to provide office space, not so much additional services?
Yeah, and we like the model, like a lot of social entrepreneurs, of yes, there is competition, but there's also a lot of collaboration. So I think there's a bunch of co-working spaces in Austin specifically where people will co-work out of both of them. And what differentiates Impact Hub Austin and VUCA, which is the event space attached to Impact Hub Austin, is that it's really kind of the home for social entrepreneurs and nonprofits and individuals like freelancers and artists and anybody who's curious about, hey, I'm doing this work in the world and I really want to find my tribe. So it's really about a sense of locality. So we host events there, and we have some really strong partnerships with groups in Austin and also around the world. So Impact Hub Austin works with St. Edward's University really closely.
Awesome.
We're forging partnerships with the city of Austin. There's a very, very long list, so I certainly don't want to leave anyone out. Leadership Austin, another membership group that we work with in Austin. So, yeah.
That's great. And I'm trying to think back even to my own experience of doing a social venture here in Austin. Is the problem that you're trying to also help solve in this is to make things not as disparate and spread out, and let aspiring entrepreneurs know that there's this kind of one-stop shop to go where they can get educated and get plugged in?
Yeah, and when we first started talking about this, we used the term big tent and I don't think we made that up. We probably borrowed it from somebody else. But the whole idea was just to have the biggest tent we could and to welcome anyone who was either 4 years into launching a really successful business, or on the corporate side, university side, or someone who was really just wondering what social entrepreneurship is all about. So we do everything from panels and more kind of formal events to what started off as Wonder Coffees, which has merged into Wonder Beers, which is just, hey, doors are open.
I want to go to this.
Come on. It's so
I haven't
great.
been there yet.
Third
I really didn't know.
Thursday of every month.
Cool.
And doors are open. Anybody can come. There's no agenda. There's no program. We don't even have name tags. I mean, it's just really welcoming people who can come
Tell
together.
us and me again, what days is it?
It's the third Thursday
Thursdays?
of every month. And there's a registration through Eventbrite on ImpactHubAustin.com.
Would you have had one yesterday, or is it skipped because of Thanksgiving this coming?
I hate to admit this, but I really don't know.
That's okay.
I'm still living in like 2 time zones at one time. The jet lag is just really getting me.
Maybe that's...
So there probably was one, and I just missed it.
Okay.
I try not to.
I want to go in December then.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's good. We'll all be there in December.
Yeah, that'll be great.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be a special holiday cheer. Maybe we'll have
Maybe it'll be a special holiday charity
eggnog
charge
with
one.
the beer. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can get in there.
Yeah.
That's great. That's really cool.
I'll tell everybody what you guys are doing.
How, in your own words, because this is something that's kind of baffled me a little bit, is entrepreneurship versus social entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
In your own words, what do you think is the difference? What defines a social venture?
I think that is changing a lot. When I first started looking at social entrepreneurship, I think the first ones were kind of early 90s, and they were for-profit businesses that were so focused on the social mission, and by the way, they also had a product. And I think in the recent years that's kind of been the definition, and I think now, especially, I've just been in China for a month on an Eisenhower Fellowship, and I've seen a different definition come into being, which is all businesses can be social enterprises as long as they're dedicated to creating some sort of a positive impact in the world. So it's almost like if you're not creating negative impacts, so companies that are in healthcare, education, in the environment, who may have not traditionally thought of themselves as social enterprises, I think are now included in this definition. So that's a very long way of saying I think it's broadening, and it's not just a one-for-one model like Tom's Shoes. It's not just kind of consumer packaged goods that involve disadvantaged populations and all organic materials. It doesn't have to be, and those folks are great. I'm not saying that that's not a positive way to run a business, but it can be very, very niche and also very hard to get off the ground and get scale. So I think that the scope is really widening, and especially with the advent of millennials really coming into their own and having more disposable income, then all businesses can be included as social businesses. Yeah.
It's awesome too. Yeah, I mean, because as you're saying that, I think it's important to point out that every business can look at their practices and figure out a way to become more socially responsible or better for the environment, or something that we have Abby, who's one of our lovely interns, who's sitting over there off screen. I mean, a big part of why we got the impetus to launch the show and things was she had been inspired so much by was it Coca-Cola? Do you want to talk about that? Yeah, why don't you come on the show? That's like the cool thing about this.
Yeah, it's great. Clothes on today.
I think it's a really cool point. So we'll bring
Plenty
in.
of room.
We can do this.
Goodness.
Tell us about the example of
Sure.
Coca-Cola. Was it?
Yeah, it was Coke. So I read it in an on-flight magazine, actually. And it was just talking about how the millennial generation is so caught up in social responsibility. And I don't know the name of the guy. I wish I could give him credit. But he won a contest for designing a refrigerated vaccine that fit between Coca-Cola bottles.
Nice.
So
that's really smart.
They got to third world countries in a way that they had never been able to before. So quick and easy.
That's great.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Yeah. I mean, because it just shows that companies, if they just think harder or creative about it, or put out this contest, and someone was able to look at, maybe look at it a little bit differently, actually, from looking from the outside in, and come up with something cool. And that's part of what we're trying to do at Charity Charge and with the show and everything, is just trying to elevate awareness.
Yeah.
Because I think that there are so many of those one-for-one type of companies that have come out, for sure, from like the ground up. We're started with a built-in charitable mission or some sort of shared value to their bottom line, their business model. And now, though, any company can figure out an innovative way to give back and do good, or make
and
the
let's
world
face
better.
it, I mean, it's hard to start a company. There are no guarantees. It's always a welcome challenge, but it's tough. And I think it's really great when you can look at things in a new way, like taking existing infrastructure, like Coke vending machines, and if you would just look at it without that creative lens, without saying, oh gosh, here I have this vaccine, I have to have it refrigerated. In developing countries, electricity is a challenge. How do I do this? And then the creativity stops. But by making it wider and looking at the existing infrastructure, which is already there, then it's easier.
Yeah.
When we all work together, not to be trite, but it's really true.
It's pretty cool. So, thank you so much for joining us briefly.
Thanks for being
nice cameo appearance. That was great.
That's cool.
So
I love this is such a fun format.
Cool.
Yeah.
So to that end, no, I'm having fun too. First episode, it's great.
The most important thing.
It is. So to that end, I'm curious, is part of what Impact Hub does, do you provide counsel to entrepreneurs that maybe have like the initial idea, but you help them figure out how to refine the business model or build in some sort of component design aspect?
Not quite
Okay.
yet. So we'll work with partners in this initial stage to do this.
Right.
Another Austin-based group, Unlimited USA.
Yes.
Yeah, Zoe.
We hope to have Zoe on as
and all
a future
those
guest
folks,
at some point.
They're so great.
Yeah.
And Mark and Trevor, and just really, really smart people. And thank goodness they're working in the social impact space, because they could do anything they wanted to do with their lives, and just lucky that they're working in the space, and we're lucky to have them in Austin. So they do an accelerator. So they have applications. Hundreds of companies will apply. 5 or 6 are chosen. So because we're all new, Impact Hub Austin is about 6 months old. And Unlimited USA has been on the ground. I think they're on their 3rd cohort right now. I think I have that right. Check out their website and make sure I have my facts right. So we're leaning a bit on their infrastructure, and we're also looking at other partners that are not in Austin for more of the anybody can come and like sign up for a class.
That's great.
For a 12-week series, you can go from idea to maybe a beta, or who knows, if you can really get it together, you can launch a product in 12 weeks. It's obviously it happened before, so
Or start a TV show in 1 week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anything's possible when you just get to it and forgive yourself a little bit.
Yeah. That's awesome. I have something, kind of an anecdote that's coming out, because I hope that this show will obviously be about the guests, but also if I can share anything. As you say it, I just want people to know that, and love Zoe to death, and she's been awesome, super supportive. I originally applied once to get Unlimited USA when it was just I was just a concept and all of those things, and we didn't make it through. And part of the feedback was that it was just such a broad approach, like you want to help all charities versus they're trying to help usually companies have a specific mission or like action that they're doing. So maybe I just didn't really, because I'm a stubborn person. So I applied again for a second time, and we didn't get in either. But but the relationship stayed really strong. It, didn't take it personally or anything. And she was the one that put us in touch with Verb, that through this competition with IBM,
that's right.
that then put Charity Charge and these other companies in this reality show called A New Way to Start Up.
That's cool.
And then from that, I really credit that as being a catalyst to be able to then have some credibility to get the deals with our banking partner and MasterCard and all of those things.
That's awesome.
So,
I didn't know that was the
so I just think, I mean, there's
that.
been a lot of things as you go through entrepreneurship and you have it, but I think like there's obviously a beauty to the whole process. And I think for us, I think if I had never bothered to apply twice, or Zoe wouldn't have known about us, then she wouldn't have known to refer us in, or whatever it was. So everything works out. It just sometimes takes time.
It's all working for you, and you can't let the first no stop you.
Exactly.
Lord, where would any of this be?
Right on.
Yeah.
So I know that you started to hint at it a little bit a few minutes ago, but you were awarded a pretty spectacular honor. Can you talk about, this isn't talking about your trip to China, can you talk about that? And
Yeah, sure. That's basically the perfect word. It's a spectacular honor. And I just got back on Saturday from a month in China studying smart cities over there.
That's so
It's
cool.
part of an Eisenhower Fellowship, and I'm still wowed that I'm even a part of this group. And I don't say that to be overly humble or demure, but it's just awesome. It's so inspiring. So the Eisenhower Foundation was started by former President Dwight Eisenhower. So it has a 60-plus year legacy, mostly in the U.S. So they're inviting international fellows to the U.S. And in fact, they just finished their first Africa Fellowship. So the 25 Africans came to the U.S. and spent time here over 7 weeks. So this is the second year of what's called the Zhixing China Fellowship, where 9 Americans went over to China as a cohort for a period of 4 weeks.
all expenses paid.
All expenses paid.
That's cool. And
through the foundation.
it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's so great. So what were some of your big takeaways from being there in China related to entrepreneurship or the world at large? I've never been there.
I've been spending the last kind of week trying to get my head around the answer to that question. And
we want the perfect answer, so I'm putting you on the
I'm
spot.
not going to give it. But
we'll be fact-checking.
China's so big. I know that sounds just so completely simplistic. It's immense, and it's not just the largest land mass. It's not just the largest populations. 1.4 billion people in China. I mean, there are twice as many people on the internet in China as there are humans in the United States. But everything there is just on a grand scale. You know, they just became a market-facing economy 38 years ago. So they're creating a market-facing economy like a legal system and a stock market and things that we all enjoy in our Western American economy. We take them for granted a bit. They're inventing them in the digital age. And so there's just a ton of energy and resources poured into infrastructure, both the physical infrastructure like trains and roads and all these kinds of things, and the digital infrastructure. So they're building all of this. They just launched, you can like pull the string and I'll just talk about this forever, but they just, the central government just provided a set of guidelines around innovation and technology and an industry in 2015. They were really basically saying the only way forward, not just for China, but for the rest of the world, is to invest in innovation. So let's do it. And it's happening at such a massive scale. I mean, I have 20 different stories of how, you know, through my conversations with folks in the private sector, public sector, university sector, students, people on the street, I mean, your jaw just drops when you realize the amount of activity that's going on over there. It's incredible. And
one of the things you mentioned is that they now have an impact hub.
They do.
In China, right?
Yeah. Well, they just got their candidates. So they went from a candidate status to, oh gosh, now I can't even remember the name. But basically, they are the official impact hub in Shanghai, which is probably the most Western-facing, you know, most international city in landlocked China. And their impact hub began very much like our impact hub here in Austin, where it was just a bunch of people sitting around kind of talking about what could be possible if there's a physical space dedicated to social entrepreneurs and the social good. And the members got together, and then they started working on it and became a candidate. Somebody filed an application, and a year and a half later, they got the nod, and now they're the official impact hub and the first one in China. So I got to visit
open,
with them.
it's running.
It's open and running. They're working out of an existing co-working space. So again, kind of the model that we tried.
But it's interesting. I mean, co-working, just even on that point, even on the other side of the planet, that co-working model is alive and well.
So I was in Hangzhou, not on a related subject. Hangzhou is kind of in between Beijing and Shanghai. City of 9 million people, which was the smallest city that I visited while I was over there.
Are we live?
Yeah, we're good.
We're good? Okay, cool.
So I was walking around and meeting with someone from the Economic Development Department in Hangzhou in this city. And she said, here's this incubator, and it was amazing. It was called New Tech City, I believe, or Tech City. Just absolutely incredible. I mean, would rival any co-working incubator accelerator space that we have here in Austin. And she said, this is one of 27. I'm like, wow, 27 of these in this city. Well, I guess there's 9 million people. Okay, those numbers work out. She's like, oh, no, there's 27 just in this area. Just literally in like a 5-mile span of space. And she said, oh, there's hundreds in the city of Hangzhou. And so they're facing a similar situation in Shanghai. I don't even know how many co-working spaces there are, but one of the challenges that they were facing is they were talking about starting their own independent co-working space as Impact Hub Shanghai, but there are so many of them popping up all over the place now that they're saying, well, maybe we should collaborate with existing ones, and they're looking at all sorts of different ways to do that model. So just incredibly bright, passionate, really dedicated people. They'll figure it out. We all do.
That's really cool. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really inspiring.
It's actually really interesting to me, and I mean, I partly feel a little, I guess not super worldly. I've never been over there, but the U.S. just seems to always be so deeply rooted in entrepreneurship. Obviously now we have kind of the golden age of it with the relative low cost it takes to start a company and the scale of being able to put something out on the internet and have distribution to, in theory, hundreds of millions and billions of people through platforms like Facebook that we're streaming this on. I think it's interesting to me to think about China and some other countries that in my mind maybe hadn't been as entrepreneurially focused in the past, but them recognizing that that's a pathway to prosperity and job creation and things of that sort. It's pretty cool.
No, you're exactly right. And in the past, it hasn't even been you couldn't even have a privately owned business 38 years ago. So it was all state controlled and the state owned everything. So just think about creating an entire market facing economy in less than years that I've been on the planet. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. But what's really cool is that when they decide to do something, they are aligned top to bottom, and it moves so quickly. So almost every single place where I was in China, we would be standing there, and they said 5 years ago, this was a rice field. 5 years ago, this was a swamp. 5 years ago, there was nothing here. And there's this really cool graphic, I'll send it to you, the Beijing subway in 2008, and then the Beijing subway in 2016. And you can't even recognize them. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing how
that
they're
aspect
building.
From an infrastructure does always fascinate me about some other countries, because I always wonder why we don't have a bullet train from here to Dallas or to Houston or something like that.
There's more light rail in China alone than everywhere else in the world combined. Yeah.
So does this fellowship, now that you're back in the U.S., does it kind of end there, or what's your involvement with it? My
sense of it is that it's just beginning, really.
Great. Okay, cool.
It's pretty incredible. So there's kind of a coming together, like a reunion tour, so to speak, in Philadelphia, where the Eisenhower Foundation is based, in May, and then we'll get to meet Colin Powell, which I'm really excited about. Yeah, and then but everybody who has been a fellow is part of the family, so I'm just really excited, not only because the people that I was in China with, my cohort for the Zhejiang Fellowship, they're just amazing, smart, incredible people, but now there's thousands of people that I'm a part of their network too, so
that's great.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
A lot of social entrepreneurs in there too. One of the women on the trip. A woman named Carrie Rich is part of the Social Good Fund, and so she's basically has a fund to invest in entrepreneurs specifically. I should introduce you guys.
Cool.
She'd love to hear about
Where
what you
are they
guys
based
are
out
doing.
of?
Out of DC.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And what, as you look through, obviously, the end of the year in 2017, where do you see yourself spending a lot of time both in work and in the other projects that you have your hands in?
Yeah, I think my focus is really going to be around smart cities.
Okay.
And to me, smart cities marries all these different areas that I've been operating in. It's tech, it's policy, it's social impact, it's civic engagement.
Mm-hmm.
It takes all of these things and wraps them together, and it's essentially how connected technology can create a more efficient, connected world. So it's liberating citizens to be more active and engaged.
For our audience and for my benefit too, then, I may have the fact wrong, but isn't Austin a smart city or won some sort of
They were a
grant or something?
finalist.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Gotcha.
Department of Transportation last year did a Smart Cities Challenge.
Gotcha.
And there were 78 cities that applied, and Austin was one of the finalists. So Columbus, Ohio was the ultimate winner.
Damn.
But
Well,
it's good
congratulations,
news.
Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, they got some cool stuff going on there.
Yeah.
They really modeled collaboration, which I think is what put them over the top.
What's
but
that?
the good news, yeah.
No, yeah.
Well, the private sector and the public sector work
okay.
very, very closely there
Gotcha,
together. And I think that and some of the other stuff that they have going on. They have a really cool video that I really love around collaboration and innovation.
We can't win everything.
You can't win everything. That's true.
Yeah, we win a lot.
But the good news is that it's really motivated cities to start that, formalizing the process of how to become a smarter city.
Yeah.
And really invest in the infrastructure, the digital infrastructure, and make sure all the internet networks are robust enough to handle all the thousands of sensors and mobile phones and all the really great technology that's going to be running on those to connect to city systems. And I'll geek out about this all day if you don't stop me. So
I think it's pretty cool.
I'll stop for a breath.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I just appreciate you coming as our first guest.
Yeah,
on
this is really fun.
CCTV and checking it out. Hopefully, we'll have you, back on a future episode. And I look forward to continuing to work with you on Charity Charge, and just love everything that you're doing. And I think that it's kind of the intangibles, but there's no question that our company is benefiting from a greater sense of community amongst social entrepreneurship and things in Austin. So we thank you very much for all the service that you do.
God, you're enabling social entrepreneurs.
And you are too. Thanks for being a card holder as well, right there.
Of course.
It's really wonderful.
Thanks.
So thanks so much for being on.
Yeah.
And hopefully for everyone that tuned in, I hope you enjoyed this and look forward to our next episode. We'll see you soon. Thanks.
Thanks, y'all.